'Tis the season. Well, not the season to be jolly, but the season to be pulling money out and throwing it out the window or throwing it in the water or turning it on fire. All of us that have boats and they're getting ready for the next season usually to spend all winter, but especially towards the end of the winter, the beginning of spring, in a big shopping spree. And I am no different. I've been buying all kinds of things. So let's talk about some of the things that I've bought to get Paquita ready. Hello and welcome. I'm Tim, and this is a special edition of SV Paquita coming to you from my dad's retirement place in beautiful Portland, Maine. It's been a typical Portland weather lately where it's been gray and cold and windy and wet, being the last part of April. But it's the weekend. It's a little colder, but the sun is out, so I'll be getting out there doing some walking. But before I did that, I wanted to give you some content. I had talked with my patrons, and my patrons had said that they thought it might be a fun thing if I shared with you some of the things that I've been getting ready for this year's season. One of the things I'm most excited about, I've paid for but haven't received yet, is a brand new Highfield rib. This is a Hypalon aluminum hulled double bottom, so all your stuff stays dry, and it's even got a space in the front to put a gas tank in, and I'm all excited about this. My friend Sean on Vector has had one of these for ages, I think almost 10 years now, and he never put chaps on it. I was going to put chaps on this one, but it's really hard to find to get them to fit just right and all that sort of stuff, and he's like, well, why bother? I've had mine for 10 years. Leave it right out in the sun, and it's been fine. So that kind of worked for me, so I was pretty happy about that. One thing I've learned while cruising is that depending on where you go, sometimes you really wish you had some wheels, and sometimes you really don't need them at all, or most of the time you don't. But when you go up north, like up to Maine and stuff, where they have like a 12-foot tide, it really is kind of nice to be able to wheel a thing up and down the beach. And Barry, the old sea dog, put me on to these ones made in Australia, all stainless steel. They snap on, snap off. They don't look stupid like the ones in the beginning that I showed, and they're wonderful. And I said, you know what? That's exactly what I want. So the idea is that when you need them, you put them in place right here like they're showing it, and then when you don't need them, you snap them out and put them underneath the seat or rinse them off. They're all stainless steel, and it should be good to go. And I'm really super stoked about that. So hopefully that will be something that will be come in handy and save my back as I go up and down. And even like places like Block Island, the tide would go out, and you don't want to drag your beautiful dinghy up and down the beach. And I see Barry. I mean, he's like 1,000 years old, and he hauls his dinghy up and down the beach, no problem at all with these things. So I'm really looking for. They were expensive, but I'm kind of looking forward to this one. One night in Fort Lauderdale, one of our little dinghy lights didn't work. They were kind of leftovers and hand-me-downs, and sometimes they worked, sometimes they didn't. And anyway, they didn't work, and one of the local, what we'd call a crab cop, was yelling at me from the shore, "Hey, where are your lights?" So my response to that was just get on the throttle and go. But don't want to do that this time, so I got a Mantis light. This one's pretty nice, so you can charge it with a USB, but it also has a solar panel on top, and should cover everything, so I'm excited about that too. So I've said before that there's a lot of things on Paquita that I wouldn't have bought, but it came with it, and then I fell in love with it. One of the things is I never thought that I'd really need a 15-horse outboard with an electric start. This one had it, and I've been through a bunch of batteries. Instead of buying the expensive battery that I had, the gel battery it came with, I replaced it with just the $50 lawn tractor battery, and it worked for about a summer, and that'd be about it. Anyway, so now that I'm getting a nice, beautiful dinghy and everything's going to be great, and because I've been so happy with all the lithium that I've had on board, I decided to go with a brand new lithium battery for this. And lithium is traditionally not a starting battery. This is a special lithium starting battery, so this will be my first trial with this. Most of them I've been having with these lithium deep cycle batteries. So hopefully this will work and last for a long time. And it's Bluetooth enabled, so I'll be able to check the charge, whether I'm using it or not. Whether it's always going to seem good until it's not. Now my Suzuki 15 horse outboard has it doesn't have an alternator. It's got like a stator on top, where in the flywheel, and I believe that charges at something like 4 amps or something like that. But anyway, since everything's new and since everything's good, I figured this would be a good time to put on right from the day one, put this little flexible solar panel opposite of where I sit. So it's going to be a spot back on the stern where on one of the sponsons that nobody should ever sit there, and hopefully that will keep the battery topped up as well. Speaking of the outboard, I thought this was a good time to kind of go through everything. I've done a couple oil changes on it and did one fuel filter change on it, but I figured I would order new, do a oil filter change, a fuel filter change, and change the spark plugs out. And I just changed the water pump last year, and it was fine. The one that was in there was totally fine, but I hadn't changed it, and I'd never opened it up. And actually, my buddy Rick and I did it together. You might remember Rick from other videos. But anyway, he and I took a look at the last one, and it was totally fine. So what I did was I've just ordered a whole nother impeller kit with the gaskets and all that, just to be ready on the safe side. Something I'd always neglected to change just because I always felt like the engine was out of the water for the most part are the sacrificial anodes or zincs. And so I think I've got at least one on the outside and probably two on the inside anyway, but I've ordered up a whole bunch of these. And from everything that I've read and the help people have given me online, I think that the same anode is used throughout the engine. So if I get a whole bunch of these, I'll have some for spares down the road. Okay, so we've got the cool new rib. We've got the cool lights. We've got the engine all tuned up. New battery, new charging stuff. Well, let's do this what we should have done right from day one. And if you guys are buying a new outboard, this is just like, I think this is like $26 or something like that. Anyway, you grab this engine hour meter, and it's also, I'll tell you your RPM too, so if you want to reprop it you can, but that's not really important to me. What's so important to me is the hours on the engine. You say, oh well, I change the oil every season. Yeah, well, what happens when you don't have a season and you go and you follow the good season all along? And there's some seasons that you might not get off the dock too often, other ones that where you're dinging all the time. So anyway, this is kind of cool. You don't really have to do much. You just wrap the wire, it goes through induction, and you stick it in your engine and know where you're at for your oil changes and other maintenance. In getting ready for our trip across the Atlantic, it's always good to have this anyway, even if I wasn't going across the Atlantic. But I think when I get to the Mediterranean, there'll be times where you'll do a stern tie, and other times that you won't do a stern tie, but you might do a med-moor and that sort of thing. Anyway, I have two anchors on the bow, but I don't have a stern anchor, and it's one of those things that I don't see me using very often, and so I wanted to get a big anchor. In this case, I got a Fortress. It's a FX37, so it's a big anchor, and hopefully I'll never use it. But what's nice about it is that I can fold it up, put it away, put it in this little bag, stow it at the bottom of the lazarette, and leave it there with like 300 or 400 feet of line that I probably have back there in case I ever have to tow somebody or be towed. You can double purpose that, and then whenever I need it, I could pull it out and assemble it. It just takes a few minutes, put together, and so that's going to be fun too. So that's what I've done to prepare for having 3 anchors aboard. So I have a bosun's chair on board, but the problem is it's just an old school bosun's chair, and it takes a lot to get somebody up the mast, especially when you weigh as much as I do. It'd be really hard for Crystalita to winch me up there. And now I could run the lines to my electric winches, but that just seems like it's doing things that are, just getting more and more crazy. I think I like doing things with two people, but the second person I don't want to have hauling me up the mast. I want them to be holding onto a safety line for me, where you have it wrapped around and taking up the strain on a winch, taking up the slack. Anyway, I really need a way that I can get up there. And then the other problem was that when I had the bosun's chair, you weren't able to you get all the way to the top, but you still weren't be able to look down on the mast. But this type of mast climber can not only be operated totally by one person, but you can, because you're using your own legs to propel up the mast, when you get up all the way to the top, you can stand up and look down on the top of the mast. And that's something that's really important for me, especially because, you always have to get up there for something's wrong with the, the Windex and that sort of thing. But anyway, I like this one. It seems to be costing a fortune. I found a couple of ones that are the older versions that I don't really want to have because you have to. The newer versions are slick because you can use existing lines that are there, and it seems as though I can't find an older version, a newer version on for sale from anybody. So I'm gonna have to buy it brand new, and they're huge money. But maybe I'll use it quite a bit, and hopefully everything will be good, and that would make things wonderful. And Safe Rig can't put a price on that. But with the rig and everything else, I bought myself some new stainless cotter pins and a big tub of Tef gel. And the Tef gel I'm going to use because not only on the rig, but for my next project, which is my arch. Well, there's the truck I rented. You notice I have the windows open. Not only because it's a beautiful day, but because the truck oddly smells like somebody smoked in it. Which in itself isn't the worst thing, but I saw that they're going to charge me $450 if I smoke in the vehicle. Luckily I don't smoke, but I don't want to pay for somebody else's. But here we are. Let's go find out if they have our tower. Okay, so they didn't want me to film inside, but look at this stuff. Look how heavy duty this is. This is the part that goes up around for the dinghy lift. This is all Schedule 80, highly anodized. Oh, this thing looks like it could pick up a monster. And wait, there's more. Look, I've got all kinds of stuff. Crossbar, all kinds of hardware, stuff to mount solar panels with. This thing's, we're gonna have to put a new load line on the Paquita when we get done with this. So, all in all, I'm pretty happy. Bueno, hasta luego. Always fun running into a fellow Puerto Rican. So if all goes well, this is what the arch will look something like when we get it installed. You can see there's a bar that drops down that lifts the dinghy up, and it's supposed to be rated enough so I can keep the outboard on there. And then we'll get everything, it'll hold the solar panels. The solar panels that are up there, I have 1100 watts up there right now, but they're just on stanchions, that are on standoffs on the bimini top, and the bimini was never designed to hold that up, and it was supposed to be a temporary thing, and now it's going on 3 or 4 years of them up there. So this is finally getting done, and I think that it's going to be much better. Hopefully it will go on and won't mess up the lines of the boat too much. Moving down below, I had a mosquito netting that was just placed over the companionway door here, but I've got this really fancy one that's got weights all the way around it and has great reviews, so I'll let you know how that works out. But one of the things that we have a problem with is that we have a sump pump for the shower, and sometimes someone forgets and leaves it on, and it just runs. It can run dry, but it can't like it. So I'm going to install one of these pilot lights to let us know that it's running. So hopefully it's not left on all the time. So we have Hella, I think it's pronounced Hella fans all the way around the boat, and they've been there and they work. They're kind of noisy, and sometimes they get tangled up with their own cord. It's kind of weird, but anyway, for some reason people have been changing those out for these, and they say that they're quieter and they move a lot more air and they move slower, so that if you get hair tangled up in it or whatever, it's not as much of a disaster. So we're going to try this out over our bed. If it works out well there, then we'll replace all the ones in the boat. Now, this is an idea I got from Tim at Lady K Sailing. He's got a great channel, and if that's something that, especially anybody that's interested in buying a boat, you should check out Lady K Sailing, because he does 1,000 boat reviews, and it's a great channel, and you should check him out. But one thing that he really kind of got me thinking about is I always sleep with my phone, on my phone is using a anchor watch alarm, and unfortunately, because it's running the GPS, it uses a whole lot of battery when it's doing that. So I usually have it plugged in, and in the event that it goes off or not or whatever, it's not right there. It's kind of a mess. And so what Tim at Lady K Sailing said was that, it makes sense. You don't need the state-of-the-art thing. You can go get a small, old Samsung 5.5 or 7-inch screen tablet, and for less than $100 you get one of these, and it runs fine. You don't need to put a plan on it or anything like that. And use that and kind of mount it so that it's right where you can be, where you're sleeping, and it's there all the time, and you just, when you go to bed, you turn it on. When you go to get up in the morning, you turn it off. And in order to do that, so you don't have to charge it all the time, I got these chargers. I got a 2-pack just because I thought it was a good idea, and the idea is that I'll permanently wire these in, and they'll be permanently hooked to the mounted tablet that will be mounted on the bulkhead next to where I sleep. And then the other one will just be, if that works well, I think I'll use that for a charging station, so that you don't always have to get a USB cord, and it's all ready to go. It's just hardwired into the boat, and you plug it into a USB-C, and you're good to go. I had added some sutures and wound closing kits to my medical bag, and one thing, this isn't something to brag about, but if you've ever broken a bone, it's bad enough. But if you've broken a bone and been on a boat, you know that any movement I don't care how calm it is, any movement really hurts. And these inflatable casts work really well. Unfortunately, I've had the pleasure of using one before, and I can see somebody taking a tumble halfway to the Azores and then having to go a week like that. And so this really helps out a lot. So thought I'd try these out. It's always a good time to add to the ship's library. In this case, this particular Advanced First Aid Afloat has been recommended by the likes of Delos and all kinds of other people. They can even show you how to deliver a baby on board, which is something that I don't anticipate having to do on Paquita, but it's nice to have everything there just in case. As long as we're buying books, I figured, you know what, maybe we should have a book in Spanish, especially one that can teach how to sail. So it seems, Chryssalida and I communicate well enough, but it's very hard for me to teach her. I mean, it seems like sailing or nautical things have a language of their own, so I got her how to sail in Spanish. Now, this is something that I'm trying. I have no idea if it's going to work or not, but this is actually a USB chargeable vacuum pump that you combine with, mason jars. And for things like, have you ever noticed if you get like a whole bunch, I do a lot of shopping at Costco and really grub the boat up and all that sort of stuff, but after a while everything kind of tastes the same, and it doesn't taste bad. It kind of has that bilgy kind of, everything gets that smell in it. And so I'm hoping that I can put pasta and rice and stuff like that in these great big 64-ounce mason bottles and pull a vacuum on it, and they'll definitely stay fresher. And hopefully, in doing that, we won't get any of that wonderful boat smell in there as well. I should have put this back in the earlier part of the video, but another addition that I'm putting onto our dinghy, as much as I want one of those really cool teeny Mantis dinghy anchors that are like $260, I think I'm really happy with the little fold-up anchor that I have. But this is a stainless steel piece of chain that I think is going to be too small. I need something a little heavier, but this is what I ordered to hold the anchor down. But that's about it. Thank you guys so so much for watching, and these are just a few things that I bought. Let me know what you guys have bought. What is there something that I'm missing? Is there an idea that you have? Let me know what you're buying, getting ready for your season this year. You guys, thank you so much for watching. Be safe, and as always, I'll see you on the one.